working every day. I'm stressed out 24/7, babe. No timeouts. Wish we could fly away. You and I go to our favorite place. Oh yeah. Make special memories together. I'll be your company now and forever. I say we fly away. You and me go to our favorite place. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. I need a summer breeze, some fresh air to put my mind at ease. No cares. You wanna come with me? Me and you go to our favorite tree. Are you ready now? We jump on a plane now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. Don't hesitate now. We're taking away. Yeah, we're taking away. We'll never come down. We're going away. Yeah, we're going away. You and me. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. We won't ever come down. We won't ever come down low. Running from a ghost town where we never feel high, just low. We won't ever come down. We won't ever come down low. Feeling the sun on my face in Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. With you, Hawaii. In Hawaii. We won't ever come down. We won't ever come down low. Running from a ghost town where we never feel high, just slow. We won't ever come down. We won't ever come down low.
Hey, hello. How you doing? It is I, Madam Whipbass, and I'm back with another reading session of A Serial Killer's Daughter by Kerri Rawson, and we're heading into chapter 30, and the title is Light Will Overcome the Darkness. And I believe that. How about you? So it's April 2005. Somewhere among the worst months of my life, my second major grief-filled descent into a pit of murky black began. Alongside the dull, thick walls that were trying to clamp down on my pain came flashes of white light panic, tinged with dark red seething. My old bullies, depression and anxiety, were resurfacing and joining forces with a new brute, trauma, which in all truth might have been an old tormentor of mine. Dad. Time began to fade in and out on me. My ability to keep it together came in spurts, and when I couldn't, I drew hazy gray blanks. Life divided. On the okay days, I taught, shopped for groceries, went to the Coney with Darian. We wandered around the Detroit Zoo, two of the rare few who visited in the semi-frozen months, and we looked like anyone else, but we were suffering. Trying to stay anonymous, Darian often reminded me to lower my voice when I talked about Dad in public. Over and over, I told Darren the terrible things the world was claiming my father had done, and he patiently let me. Out at, out at dinner, we looked around, wondering if anyone knew who we were, both of us trying not to utter the name BTK, mainly for my sake, but maybe if I had said it out loud, it would become the truth. My dad is BTK. I'm BTK's daughter. At one point, we became stuck at the AMC, frozen in our seats after seeing Hostage, a movie with violent criminals, home invasion, and Bruce Willis trying to save the day. Darian looked at me. Are you okay? I'm feeling sort of dizzy. I want to throw up. I gripped the armrest while the credits rolled. Maybe we shouldn't have seen this one. Yeah, I don't think I can handle these types of movies for a while. I paused, looked down at the floor, then back at Darian, saying quietly, I saw Seven with Dad at the Palace in early 1996. Oh, just you? Yeah. Do you think he was trying to tell me something about himself? Taking me to that? Don't know. I saw Copycat at North Rock. Dad was impressed I sat through that one alone. We talked all about it when I got home. Did you know Red Dragon is supposed to be loosely based on your dad? No, really? Heck, saw that with him too. And The Silence of the Lambs and Hannibal and 8mm. I could go on for a while. 8mm? Wow. Well, come on, let's get going. He stood up, collected our discarded popcorn container and empty cups, then offered his hand and saw me out of the theater. We didn't go to the movies again for a while after that. I kept rattling off serial killer and horror lore in the car, the same way a broken hydrant gushes water. I read all those books too, the Hannibal Lecter ones, Kiss the Girls, lots of Stephen King. Dad and I would swap paperbacks, suggest library books, talk about them. How old? Middle school? High school? Mom didn't approve necessarily, but Dad let me read whatever I wanted to. I used to sneak read her romance books under the covers with my flashlight. She finally gave up trying to stop me when I was about 16. It always helped to talk to Darian, to say out loud what was running through my head. Maybe if I thought about it enough, it would feel like the truth. On the broken days, which were many, I went unseen. I didn't teach. I slept till Darian called to ask, what do you want for lunch? How about Taco Bell today? Love never fails, for better or worse, in sickness or in health. I would eat what he bought me, do who knows what for a few hours, and crash on the couch, napping till he arrived home from work. We'd watch TV in the evenings, or I cross-stitched, a new old hobby, while he worked at his computer. We'd stay up late, our attempt to fend off the darkness. Then one of us would mumble about bedtime and the other would follow. I'm not sure in what week of going through hell we found each other again as husband and wife, but early on it became us against the world. After the arrest, my night terrors came back with a vengeance. Now the thing trying to kill me in the dead of night looked an awful lot like my father. I'd sit up silently, searching around the room with my eyes looking for him, or I'd startle and scream, tugging on a poor sleeping Darian. Dad, it's not. Go back to sleep. How do you know? I'd question Darian with accusations in my voice and knock things over on my nightstand, reaching for my gigantic black mag light or fumbling for the light switch on my lamp. Oh, you're right. No one's here. Dad is in prison. He can't hurt anyone anymore. My heart would beat almost out of my chest and I'd shake. Then within a few minutes, I'd find my courage and will myself to turn the light back off. Okay, nothing here. Go back to sleep. Sometimes I'd fight off the bad guy, inadvertently knocking into Darian, mistaking him for my foe. I'd usually wake up enough to realize my error. Sorry, night wig outs again. He'd grunt. It's all right. Sleep. I'd always had night terrors. I didn't know which night they'd come back, but at least they were a beast I knew. What I didn't know was the loop. It was a new tormentor, and I had no idea how to shake it or when it would leave. Home was no longer home. It had been permanently fixed into my bones as the place where I suffered immense life-threatening fear and pain on February 25th. It created white-hot emotional toil, looping, looping, looping. The FBI man knocked at my door. He asked for my DNA. He left. I never saw him again. Over and over. I was sure I was going crazy, though I continued to tell no one, not even Darian, who was trying to keep things together for both of us. I'm certain he also noticed his wife was continuing to fall apart in front of him. I don't remember when exactly I landed back on a therapist's couch. I don't remember if I went because my mom talked me into it. She had started seeing someone in Wichita. If Darian coaxed me to get help, or if I waved the white flag of surrender myself. I don't think I checked the suicidal thoughts box at this time, but I'm not sure about that either. I do remember taking in Dad's letters, folded inside their envelopes decorated from jail, and removing them in my therapy session. Something tangible to point to say this was really happening. Darian drove me. The office was in the community south of us, not far, but I wasn't able to muster enough strength to drive myself. Plus, my sessions were in the evenings. I'd become super jumpy in the dark again. The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Darian would sometimes go in with me, scrunching up next to me on the couch. Other times he would wait the 45 minutes out in the lobby, and then we would go eat a late meal at Steak and Shake. My therapist pointed out I was grieving. I was allowed to grieve and needed to let myself do so, even though Dad was still alive and had caused an immense amount of harm. I was full of guilt and shame over what he had done and didn't always think I had the right to mourn his loss from my life. Grieving the loss of the father I loved, grieving the loss of the man I never knew, grieving for him, for my family, grieving for the lives he took, grieving for their families. During these awful months, I realized I wasn't just running the details. I was learning of Dad's murders and my own FBI trauma loop. I was also repeating the promises of God found in Scripture. I wasn't just stuck in the darkness. I was also clinging to the light. Hmm. interesting? If you listen to the final chapters of Inside the Mind of BTK, the very last sentence was John Douglas. He like pulled over because like a storm was taking place and looked like tornadoes were about to drop down. And then when that kind of subsided a little bit, the last sentence was him driving straight towards the light. And that's how that book ended. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. My God is my rock, in whom I take refuge, my shield and the horn of my salvation, my stronghold. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Sometimes they would jumble out of order. God is my rock and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The verses will cut through the darkness, and I have begun to teach myself not only to repeat them silently in my head, but to utter them quickly under my breath when I was afraid, especially in the dark. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. They brought me strength, defiance, determination, the will to continue on. In the worst moments of my life, I was turning toward my faith in God without even realizing at first that I had. Sometime during these terrible months when I had nothing left, no ability to open my Bible, God gave me an image of Him. Under me was His strength, a large, impregnable black rock He set me upon. Around me and in me was His Spirit, an impermeable shield of light. And over me, waving high, was His banner. Let His banner over me be love. All right, so we're heading into part 6. Stand on your rock. He makes my feet like hinds' feet and sets me upon my high places. He trains my hands for battle so that my arms can bend a bow of bronze. Psalm 18, 33 and 34. Chapter 31, long distance can offer sanity. Really? Okay. April 17th. Dear Kerri, we start on pre-arraignment next week on April 19th. The Dog and Pony Show will start. Media and rest is a mess. My attorney has planned on waiving the state. There will be a non-guilty plea entered at some point. That will give us time to review more evidence. At some point, we will make final plea. So much for all the legal. I'm reading this just as it is written, by the way. I finally got to move into pod with 12 inmates. I call them the Dirty Dozen Gang. The system interviewed each for security risk and my high-profile status. They are a bunch of nuts and good guys. I learning their names and becoming pod friends. One of them cutting hair this AM did a great job. I have my own chair table, territorial, and everyone else does in the day common room. We share our meds, watch TV, play cards. We share our meds. Did he mean males? You ain't supposed to be sharing meds. When they give you your meds, the nurse is there. You take your meds. The officer is there with a flashlight that points into your mouth to make sure you have swallowed them. So maybe he meant meals. I yet to play chess although others play it every day. We also horse around, joke, and carry on out here. As they say, do the time and don't let the time do you. The Dirty Dozen said since I arrived, they have had special privileges. Although we have more cell shakedown, enforcement of detention rules, and the PD have been more official. I think because they know at some time I will speak out to the media and they want to have their act covered or cleaned up. Who knows what the fuck he's talking about, right? We did get some, excuse me, we did get some fresh air last night. My first since arrest. Some guys hadn't been outside since September. Oh, it felt so good to breathe fresh air and see the blue sky. Half moon. I had to be in chains, but that I'm used to now. They chained me up as I moved through the building. At arraignment, I will have leg chains and a 50,000-volt shocker in case I get out of control. I do get a lot of respect from the Dirty Dozen. Magical thinking. Nobody respects this fucking oven roasted pervert. Nobody. But in his BTK mind, the world loves him. What a piece of fucking work, right? Mom said you haven't got any more mail from me. I don't understand. I have mailed out at least 2 or more letters. Could the FBI be holding them? Grandma Dorothea fell and was in hospital. Can you or Mom let me know? So helpless. I started envelope drawing. I hand draw some for Dirty Dozen. That is how we survive. Help each other out. Trade. Hot chocolate, candy bar, Cheetos, tea, Tang coffee, our basic need every day. I'm amiss with news from family. I hope all is okay. I'm sure the media will be heavy again. Sorry, forgive me. Love, Dad. How did he hold the compliance officer position for so many years and he can't write worth a damn? Amazing, isn't it? But certain members of the society, they got to be on their fucking A game to get a job, and even more so to keep the job. Dad's first court appearance, a pre-arraignment, only lasted minutes, which made me chuckle, imagining all the national media that had flown in for it. He wore his nice gray suit and a smart gray and yellow tie Mom and I had given him for Father's Day one year. My mom and I wanted my father to look appropriate for court, not to appear in an orange jumpsuit. Understanding it was important to us, Uncle Bob went to our house and selected suits, dress shirts, matching ties, and shoes for my dad. My father was a criminal, but no matter what he had done, he still deserved to be treated with dignity and respect. Really, Kerri. He deserved. BTK. You mean the man who hung an 11-year-old girl in the basement and masturbated and ejaculated all over her leg as she lay there, not lay there, hung there, dead? You mean BTK deserves respect no matter what he did? The same man who took a little 9-year-old boy, laid him on the bed, tied a shirt over his head and then a plastic bag, and then pulled up a chair and sat down and watched the boy die? That nigga you talking about, Kerri? You mean this man deserves dignity and respect? The same man that took your neighbor, Mrs. Hedge, I believe her name is, or Hodge, murdered her and then brought a dead body to his church in the basement, put plastic bags all over the windows, took pictures of her dressed in lingerie and put a mask on her face while she was dead. It took pictures of her right there in his church. He deserves dignity and self-respect and respect. Maybe it's just me, but it ain't. This is some things you should not have written in this book, Kerri. He was called a monster, not human. It was said he should face the chair. It was brutal hearing folks knock my dad, calling him names and mocking him. I understood this anger. He took 10 lives, and there was absolutely no dignity or respect about what he had done. He should be in prison the rest of his life. But he was still my father, and while continuing to be torn apart inside, I quietly tried to support the man I knew through his arraignment and trial. I understand that, Kerri. This very moment, as I'm pausing and pondering, I'm really attempting to stand in your shoes. And when I do that, I understand. You did not know BTK. You've never met BTK at this particular point in time in your life. You just know Daddy, Dennis Rader Daddy. And that's who he was to you. I understand. Your daddy, that man that you went camping with and you was able to be a tomboy with and you went fishing with and who drove you and moved you back and forth to college and walked you down the aisle. None of those times was he BTK. He just didn't exist in your world. So I get it. I get it. Let the truth be the truth. I should have showed up at court and sat behind him, been there for him. But I was afraid and I was ashamed I didn't have the strength or courage. I didn't want to be exposed by the media circus. I didn't trust the police, who I felt had used me. And I couldn't imagine facing the families. They were one block of solidarity. They all lost someone they loved to him. They deserved justice. My family was separate. We were his family. We would stay clear. The best I could handle, would be to follow Dad's court appearances online, checking news sites later that same day. I'd sob while reading through the details, carefully studying the photos of my dad, trying hard to hold on to what and whom I was losing. His suit hung looser. His belt was cinched an extra notch. His beard had grown out. His hair was a bit longer than I'm sure he preferred, and his face was haggard. He was aging overnight. Jail was taking his toll. Well, Jesus Christ, it was only a couple of months, right? At this particular point in time. What a wuss. You can't handle a couple of months in prison before you start aging? Look, I met a guy, what was his name? Royal. I say a guy. Royal was a cashier at the supermarket. And I used to always go on his line. And this is like 2 years ago, right? And Royal was actually 73 years old. Royal, and this is no exaggeration, Royal had a body of a 25-year-old. And I had to think to myself, and he looked in his face, he probably looked maybe 40 with a 25-year-old body, and the man was 73. And I thought to myself, why is a 73-year-old man working in a supermarket as a cashier? And he has the body of life, and he looks 30 years younger. I was like, you know what? I bet Royal did about 40 years in prison. And he worked out and everything. I didn't want to ask him, but being a New York City girl, I knew that man did at least 25 years in prison, at least. And came out with the body of life and looking younger, much younger than 73. I couldn't believe it when he told me he was 73. Nowhere near did he look even 50. See, he did the time. He didn't let the time do him. BTK, if he was aging overnight after a couple of months in jail, no less, he wasn't even in prison, in jail at this particular point in his story. The time started doing him immediately. Anyway, didn't mean to go off on a tangent. That's what happens when you, how should I say, drunk read, reading while drunk. That's me. He was aging overnight. Jail was taking its toll. And I was watching the disgrace and downfall of my hero who was trying hard to keep it together. I could tell from the strain on his face. I need to write Dad before I fly home. I was on the phone with Mom after Dad's hearing. Don't tell your father about my foot. Mom had twisted her foot the month before and broken a bone. She was now hobbling around on crutches, wearing a boot. What to tell my father and not tell him had become a matter of contention, not just with her, but with his brothers too. There was an ever-changing and growing list of what I could and could not tell him. I also had little idea who was writing or visiting him and what they were telling him. Word got to Dad anyway about Mom's injury, and he heard Grandma Dorothea was continuing to decline. My family was collectively trying to protect my grandma, but she wanted to write and visit him herself. She was diminishing, suffering from dementia and possibly Parkinson's. She was well taken care of by my uncles and their families, but it didn't seem to matter what Dad was told. He still begged for answers in his letters, worried about all of us. When I wrote, I tried to fill him in as best I could while attempting to dodge anything falling under the new family privacy label. I often say, we're fine, everyone's fine, figuring the more we could alleviate his concerns, the more likely he would be willing to plead guilty. Survivor's tip. It's rather unlikely, 2 months after your father has been thrown in jail, that much of anything is fine, let alone that you are fine. April 23rd. Dear Dad, hi. I was happy to get your letters and hear how you're getting along. I worry about you being alone and in such a harsh environment. I'm glad you were able to go outside and can now talk to other inmates and have people to play cards with. A part of one of your letters you wrote someone, maybe a stranger, fan mail, is now on a website about the crimes. You might want to be careful who you write to and who you give poems and drawings to. All that stuff could end up on the internet and hurt your case in court. Mom is planning to stay with Grandma and Granddad for a while. Dudley is staying with friends from church. He is doing well. Who the fuck is Dudley? I'm coming to town this week out because our Corsica is struggling and Mom is going to give us the tempo. I'm going to meet with your psychologist while I'm there. I've been in contact with your lawyers the last couple of weeks, and Brian plans to help also. We were glad you waived your hearing on Tuesday. Even though I'm going to be in town, I'm still not ready to visit the jail. I promise I'll come see you sometime, though. You were wondering about Grandma Dorothea. She stayed with family. Then she fell again and had to go to the hospital. She was there for a few days and then asked to be taken to a care home. She's doing better. Brian is doing well. He is keeping busy with classes. Mom is doing okay, trying to adjust to her new life. Darian and I are doing fine. I'm back to subbing. It finally warmed up here and the flowers and trees bloomed. But this weekend we are under a winter storm warning, if you can believe that. You know, excuse me. We know you are still deciding on your final plea, but the family feels if you are guilty, then you know you're guilty. So why do you have to look at the evidence? We don't really understand the legal issues involved, but are trying to respect your decision. Things would be much easier on us, media-wise and court-wise, if you were able to plead guilty, but we know that's ultimately up to you. I was wondering if something happened to you as a boy and if you wanted to open up and talk about it. I'm so sorry if something did happen to you. You should know it's not your fault if something happened when you were little. We've been told in cases like these, there's usually something that happened to the person committing the crimes that changed who they were. Your psychologists and lawyers cannot tell me anything related to the case or anything you've told them. All I know is what you passed on through the pastor in your letters and the little the FBI told me on the first weekend. We know there's evidence, but don't know exactly what that is. Emotionally, we all feel like it's still impossible you had anything to do with this. The man we know and love. Intellectually, we know there is a whole other side to it and things that support that side. We're trying to come to an understanding. There could be two different people in you. Someday we would like answers if you are able to give them or have them yourself. Take care of yourself, watch your back, and try not to worry too much about the family. Some of them are having a hard time with things, and that might be why you are not getting as many letters or visits. Try to stay strong and healthy. God is with you. He will never leave or forsake you. He has loved you even before you were created. He loves you no matter what and will forgive all your sins if you ask for forgiveness. Sending you all my love and prayers, Kerri. Well, isn't that special? Hmm. Some letters were lost or held at the jail, possibly stolen by others somewhere along the way, or misplaced in the early months. Brian wrote Dad, but the letter was returned because my brother kindly added a long distance calling card, and the jail didn't allow that. In this case, letters between Dad and I crossed in the mail. We sat down on the same day, 16 hours apart, to write each other. April 23rd. Dear Kerri, hi, how are you today? Are you and Darian doing okay and keeping busy? I heard you may be going. I'm reading this as it is written. I heard you may be going to be in town to see Mom next week. I would love to see you, but know that would be hard and maybe too soon yet. I can always write you before the rest of the family. I don't know why, but you seem to understand me, and these letters helps break the ice for other letters to follow. A line or two would help me to overcome the sadness from not hearing from loved ones. And Kerri, it might be the mail, it's not getting through. I receive a lot of mail from others, pen pals, but few from family. I did receive third letter from Mom and one from Grandma Dorothea. Both you and Mom are welcome to visit me, but like I said, the media may spot you or it may be too soon. It will be so hard to see any of you. I will be completely brokenhearted, sad, but nice to see someone beside non-family. By now you have heard the pre-hearing waiver on April 19th. Mom was very happy I did the family wish. Arraignment is May 3. My attorneys want me to plea non-guilty to buy some more time to decide our final plea. Bottom line, if I plead non-guilty, I'm not selling the family out at this time. I need time to make final decision. Getting used to my new family, the pod inmates, Dirty Dozen. Not only do I have respect now, the pod is getting to be known and inmates are becoming celebrities. Some pod deputy won't guard us, do our rank now, makes them too nervous. This week we had a lockdown for 5 inmates. No day room privileges. We took a pledge today all of us would face lockdown if the PD push us too hard. Some of the PD want to bust me so they can claim they locked me down for a day or two. I did 43 days of lockdown. Big deal. I busy my day with letters, pen pal, Christian and others, family, puzzles, eagle, TV, games, cards, exercise, laugh, joke, and war stories with other inmates. Also, some visitors, one pen pal and pastor. I keep track of those who wrote me and answered, keep me busy. I have received about 98 letters so far. A good portion I have returned. You may start to see some of my letters, poems showing up on internet. I try not to write anything not already known or will be known or hurt attorney-client relationship or the family. But if this media event start to get out of hand, I shut it down quickly with few pen pal letters. Take care. Tell Darian hi. Miss you. Love, Dad. All right, that was chapter 30 and 31. Mm. You know, there's a lot of people who grew up without a father in the house. I got a friend who has like 3 older siblings, and they like never knew their father. There was never a man in the house. It was just their mother. I remember she told me she was a teenager at this time, and she had a friend, and she went to a friend's house after school, and some man walked out the bedroom. And so she turned to her friend like, "Who that nigga?" That's what she said. "Who that nigga?" The friend said, "That's my father." "Your father? What are you doing coming out the bedroom? He live here?" The friend says, "Yeah, it's my father. He lives here." "That nigga live here with you?" She had never seen that before. Out of all of her friends, there were no fathers in the home except for this one. And she was like fucking surprised that her father actually lived with the family. So I said all that to say, if you grew up very close to your father, such as Kerri, I just really feel for her. I understand. I understand. And as I read through this book, some things she might say, and you'd be like, how could she feel that way? He deserves dignity and respect. Well, she's speaking out of the place of knowing her father and had no concept or idea about a damn BTK. And that must have been, and it still might be, a little crazy for her to walk that fine line and learn how to distinguish the two. I'm sure some days she walks on the line of daddy, and other days she walks on the line of BTK. And that could be quite frustrating and confusing, to say the least. So far, I get her and I understand. And at this point in time, I'd like to leave you with this song. I don't know how appropriate it is, but at least the chorus is quite appropriate when it talks about, you made a fool of me, tell me why.
I remember when you filled my heart with joy. Was I blind to the truth? Just there to fill the space, 'cause now you have no interest in anything that I have to say. I've allowed you to make me feel. I feel so dumb What kind of fool am I? You so easily set me aside. You made a fool of me. Tell me why. You say that you don't care, but we made love. Tell me why. You made a fool of me. You made a fool of me. I want to kiss you. Does she want you with the pain that I do? Smell you in my dreams. But now, when we're face to face, you won't look me in the eye. No time, no friendship, no love. You say don't touch you. I can't touch you no more. Can't touch you anymore. Anymore. You made a fool of me. Fool of me. Tell me why you say that you don't care. You just don't care. We make love. Tell me why you made a fool of me. Made a fool of me. Tell me why I feel like such a fool. You made a fool of me. A fool of me. Tell me why. Tell me why.
Tell me why.